inductee, as I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that probably owe him quite a bit. There's guys that I'm sure he helped make them quite a bit of money. The next inductee is Ken Staninger.
From Missoula Sentinel High School quarterback to highly skilled sports agent, Ken Staninger carved out a niche. Draft day 1995 with Don Reed and Scott Gregg. Scott and Ken at New University of Montana Hall of Fame. Ken and Coach Bobby Houck, who's back in the saddle again. Guy Bingham, Doug Betters, Kirk Scrafford, all Montana Football Hall of Fame members. Dave Dickinson, coach of CFL champion Calgary Stampeders with Ken. Current Eagles coach Timmy Houck. Ken and Super Bowl MVP Mark Rippon. Jake Scott with the Colts in 2007 during their Super Bowl championship. With Dylan McFarland and his mother, with Steve Gleason, Colts and Saints, and Congressional Medal of Honor winner. Mary, Ken, and Victor, Rocky Cleaver. Ted Popson and Ken at Super Bowl 29. Joe Glenn, Don Reed, and Dave Dickinson, a coaching brain trust. Mark Rippon, Ted Popson, Kirk Scrafford, Tim Houck, Guy Bingham, Bill Musgrave, and Dave Dickinson. Ken and Dan Carpenter, 10-year NFL kicker and now Plentywood farmer. Ken with his Ray T. Racine Award and Eric Bergost with his Olympic gold medal. Kenny showing what a successful sports agent looks like.
And now accepting for Ken Staninger his two sons, Brett and Ryan.
That was a great video. Thank you very much for putting that together. So Ryan and I are very grateful to be here tonight representing our father to accept this great honor. Ken Staninger was such a humble man. He would have been incredibly honored to stand before you here tonight. Tonight is about recognizing individuals that made an impact on the game of football with their historical performances on the field. In the background of players' greatness on the field are those who support them and help hold them up along the way. The reason Ken Staninger is being inducted tonight is because of the special impact he made on players' lives and the support that he gave their careers. Through the performances of Ken's players and his support, he also helped influence the institutions of professional football. He did so much for the game and for Montana as a professional sports agent. Ken started his sports agency in 1980, originally called Staninger Sports Agency, and later becoming Stinger Sports. Ken's career as a sports agent began with a simple concept. He believed that Montana and Big Sky Conference athletes that he saw play on Saturday could play professionally on Sunday. His mission became to help them do so. Thanks to each player's talent and Ken's diligence, he helped launch many careers. He recruited players from all over the Northwest. Many of the careers lasted longer than a decade, and his success spanned 33 years as a sports agent. Ken represented over 160 athletes through his career. According to the NFL Players Association, he negotiated over 500 contracts. As you heard earlier, in 1992, the contract Ken negotiated for Mark Rippon of the Washington Redskins was the third largest contract in NFL history, only to that of Dan Marino and Joe Montana. Rippon started calling Ken the Stinger. He would negotiate a deal and Mark would come away saying, "The stinger has stung." And the moniker stuck. Thus, Ken had another nickname, and later his agency was changed to Stinger Sports. At the midpoint of his career, he had already represented a Super Bowl MVP, 2 Grey Cup MVPs, several All-Pro and Pro Bowl players, several who made Super Bowl appearances. If Ken would have lived through 2018, he would have continued to witness his clients and friends achieve greatness. He would have added 3 more CFL Grey Cup wins and another Grey Cup MVP. It would have been a special year for him to watch head coach Dave Dickinson win the Grey Cup and coach Tim Houck of the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl in the same year. In addition, former client Steve Gleason was honored by receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor in that year. All were clients. Ken was selective about the players he wanted to represent. He limited the number of players that he would take on each year as he strived for time and accessibility with each player. He sought players with high character and work ethic. He strived for honesty and professionalism with each general manager and director of player personnel. Over time, he earned their trust and respect regarding the calibers that he represented and for the knowledge that he had of the game. Ken formed working relationships with teams all across the league. When he told general managers of players that could play, they listened. When he counseled that they needed a player at a certain position, they listened, and they always took Ken's calls. Ken had a business philosophy that got results. His players came first. He focused tirelessly on their careers. He worked to improve their draft status, negotiated contracts, signing bonuses and endorsements, as well as incentive packages, and he handled innumerable business issues that occurred off the field. His sports agency became a partnership between he and his players. His philosophy was embraced by his clients, and that became the fabric of lifelong lasting friendships and relationships. Ken was like a second father to some of the men that he represented. He officiated players' weddings and was a groomsman in them more than once. Whether they were cleaning fish or pounding fence posts in the off-season, Scott Gregg, who's also being inducted tonight, teased that Ken was a full-service agent. Praise for Ken held true throughout his life. In his sports agency, he was a true MVP, and Ken was a standout. His life demonstrated his ability and desire to serve his clients, his community, family, and friends. These friends and clients whose lives and careers have been touched by Ken have spoken. The following quotes and testimonials speak volumes as the importance that his support meant to them. Quote, Ken was the best decision I've made during my career. When my career was down, Ken was still there for me. Quote, I feel lucky that Ken saw something in me that people didn't. His knowledge made him a source that I can never replace. I'm not only proud to have him as an agent, I'm equally honored to have him as a friend. A representative of the NFL Players Association said Ken was impressive as an agent, and a general manager that he'd worked with stated that Ken was the only gentleman in the industry. It says it all when Dan and Kayla Carpenter named their first child, Colby Staninger Carpenter.
Ken helped put the University of Montana sports program on the NFL and CFL's radar with help from scout Marv Sutherland. They set out to give UM players a better opportunity by making sure the teams noticed their talents. As a result, more scouts came for Grizzly player tryouts, and over time it became the norm for Grizzly players to be seen on Sunday. Out of the 75 players that went pro from 1980 to 2011, 29 were Ken Staninger's clients. After tonight, 8 of Ken's players will be in the Montana Football Hall of Fame. To continue to remember Ken's efforts, a football scholarship has been established in his name from an endowment set up from the funds from Ken's family and friends at the University of Montana. It is to be given to a Montana resident who best embodies Ken's ideals. Ken's efforts to help athletes to achieve wasn't just confined to the sports agency. The Missoula County Stadium on Big Sky High School's campus was built in part by Ken's endeavors. With lots of help from his committee, the locker rooms, concession stands, and public bathrooms were constructed. Later, weight training equipment was donated in Ken's name to student athletes at Big Sky by the Memorial Funds and by the Peak Wellness Center. Ken played college football at Colorado State, where he received a business marketing degree on a full-ride scholarship. Ken's career was cut short by a motorcycle accident while stopped at a red light. While facing a terrible double compound fracture, the ER doctors wanted to amputate, but Ken took a stand, and stand he did. After 9 surgeries, his leg was saved, but his football career was over. Ken never said it himself, but his wife, Mary, believes that he lived his football career through his players and his own unfulfilled ambitions as an athlete. Prior to arriving in Fort Collins, Ken attended the Spokane Community College on a football and baseball scholarship. In 2012, Ken was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Northwest Athletic Association as an all-star offensive first-team player. Ken was the quarterback and captain of the undefeated 1968 team. Ken was an all-around good athlete. An article was written about him at the time of his high school career and said, Ken has won more letters than any athlete in Sentinel history. 3 basketball, 3 football, and 3 track. And they called him the Golden Boy. A coach was quoted saying, Staninger is one of the finest quarterbacks in Montana high school football, and an opposing coach commented that he was one of the best signal callers they had seen in over 6 years. Ken was determined and good to great at everything he did. He coached youth sports and participated recreationally in nearly every sport you can imagine. He announced horse racing, organized rugby tournaments and football games like the Pig Bowl, a fundraiser for youth sports between businessmen, teachers, and the Missoula Police Department. In the early part of Ken's career, he provided color commentary with Bill Schwanke for the Grizz radio and broadcasted high school games, and he often piloted fellow announcers to away games in his plane. There were 2 things he was not good at. 1, ice skating. But this did not stop him from playing goalie for the Missoula Flying Mules, a hockey team he pretty much formed just for the fun of it. He would often joke that he was an all-state goalie, which was probably because he was one of the only goalies in the state. And 2, riding saddle bronc at the Missoula County Fair. Yet again, proving he was not one to shy away from a challenge. Ken's contributions to the Missoula sports community was recognized in 1999 when Ken was awarded the Ray Rosine Sportsman of the Year Award, given to an individual who symbolizes the volunteer spirit of sportsmanship through activities and leadership in athletics. It was said by one of Ken's peers, Staninger is the kind of person who makes us all sit back in awe. If he was outstanding in only one area, that would be understandable. But his excellence in business, civic activity, and involvement in professional associations is simply overwhelming. We don't mean to portray Ken as a saint. He was often mischievous and a bit of a rascal at times, but was always revered. After all the praise and credentials, Ken was a very modest and humble man. He had many attributes, and the greatest of which was integrity and sincerity. In closing, and in the words of one of Ken's longtime clients, he took us all on an incredible ride. There's not a better man that I know. On behalf of Ken's family, we thank you for recognizing him and inducting Ken into the Montana Football Hall of Fame. It is truly a great honor. Thank you all for who nominated him and who voted for him.
So throughout Ken's career, he had one assistant, Joe Lozich, and Joe was the glue that kind of helped everything together. Any of the players that are here know that. Joe's here tonight. We'd like to have Joe stand just to be recognized. In addition, Ken is being inducted in the support category, and there was no greater support to his business and life than his wife, Mary. We'd like to have her recognized as well.
And would the rest of Ken's family please stand? And many of Ken's athletes are here as well. Would you gentlemen please stand as well? And anyone else whose life was touched by Ken Staninger. Thank you so much. This is truly a great honor.